How are you all doing today? My name is Chris. Welcome to Bourbinsane. We're back today and we have got an episode that I get asked about all the time on every platform. What's better, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or Stagg Jr? This is a highly debated question. Highly debated question. Going into this personally, I'd say most batches I prefer Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I know. But we're going to try today and find out. I've got two batches here. Now, these are both two very good batches to me. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A120, so the first release in January of this year. Stagg Jr. I've got batch 13. Now, the reason I chose batch 13 was because this actually won higher than the batch 12 in the blind I did against the 2019 George T. Stagg. So Stagg still won Stagg after all. But batch 13 is really, really good. Really good stuff. But I love this Elijah Craig release too. So this is going to be good. I'm not going to do these blind because these are such different whiskeys. I think I'd be able to pick out the differences anyway, so it's not going to be a true blind. I'd rather just give you tasting notes, differences between the two, and what to expect from the releases in general. Each release is a little bit different from the distilleries, but in general they do usually maintain a consistent flavor profile and whatnot. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof first. Now, 3 times a year this is released out of Heaven Hill Distillery. These are both powerhouse distilleries. Heaven Hill first. 3 times a year they got the A, B, and C batch. They're released January, May, and September. So A120, B520, and C920. That's right. Yeah. 3 releases, all usually delicious things, in years past. C batches have been what I tend to favor, but this A release I may even like more than the C919 from last year. And that's saying a lot because that was an excellent, excellent batch. 68.3% on the A120 this year. Almost hazmat, really. Almost hazmat. Uncut, straight from the barrel, just the way we like it. Moving on to Stagg Jr. This is out of Buffalo Trace Distillery. Now, we all know Buffalo Trace's history, all the amazing products that Buffalo Trace puts out. Difficulty finding, of course, and that's the case with both of these, but Stagg Jr. is even harder to find. Batch 13 comes in at 128.4 proof, so 64.2%, so a little bit lower proof than the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Again, uncut, unfiltered, straight from the barrel. Elijah Craig is about, it's 12 year age statement on the side of the bottle. Stagg Jr. is usually about 8, so 8 to 9 years depending on the batch, depending on what they blend. In general, that's about what it is. So, enough with the background. Let's go right into these here. I've had these poured for about 15 minutes just to let them open up a little bit. Got my caps here, but let's go right into color on these. Looking at Stagg Jr. first. Nice dark color. We'll compare them just side by side here. So in my light, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is actually quite a bit darker. Yeah. I've got a light shining right on me, so it's almost like a honey color in my light. I think it's darker on the screen for you. Excellent sticking to the side of the glass, though, on both of these. I'd say even the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is a little bit more viscous. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, let's start with nose. Which one to go to first? Let's go Stagg Jr. first. Oh. So much deep, rich cherry comes through for me. That classic Buffalo Trace profile. It's the rich, dried fruits, cherry, raisins, plums. But on top of that, it's just awesome barrel char, barrel notes come through. A lot of baking spices too. This leans more towards heavy brown sugar for me every single time. Most batches, When I did this blind, it was one of my first pours I had out of the bottle. It was a little bit astringent, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be that great of a batch. Even going back to it this time through, no alcohol burn. Just pure, rich goodness. Alright, let's go to the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Completely different nose. This is giving you that toasted nut. That toasted nut, almost like a charred almond note. A lot more caramel vanilla coming through actually for me too. Whereas Stagg Jr. is a lot more baking spices that came out. This actually smells hotter than the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof though. I think it's a lot smoother nose. It's got a more creamy nose, I'd say, than the Stagg Jr. as well. almost like a caramel or vanilla, custard almost, something like that. Man, this does not smell that hot for being almost 140 proof. Whew. Oh, they both smell wonderful though. Both very well balanced. Like I said, you're getting a more alcohol punch out of the Stagg Jr, but nothing wrong with that. Let's go into a sip here. Cheers. Mmm. Mmm. Again, Buffalo Trace profile taking over on the palate, and it's awesome. If you guys have ever had E.H. Taylor barrel proof, for some reason this is kind of reminding me of that today, because this has got more of that E.H. Taylor fruity profile, where it's got a lot more cherry coming through for me. Even lighter fruits like pears, peaches a little bit, which I don't normally pick up in Stagg Jr. batches as much as like the E.H. Taylor line. I get that a lot. But it's just great. Full of baking spices now. A lot more clove and nutmeg coming through on the palate. The oak is there, but it's not overtaking the palate. And honestly, for a first sip of the day I just had, not a huge amount of burn either. It's drinking pretty smooth. The ever so dreaded smooth word, I know. Wow. It's really good. I mean, plain and simple, it's really good. If I got to pick out a negative in this whiskey, it's just going to be a little bit of astringent oak on the back of the palate. And that's where the age can make the difference. George T. Stagg, being a 12-year, 6-month release, I believe is what, something around that age at least for the 19. That's what made it better for me. Like that creamy oak that took over on the back of the palate. No astringent, no drying out. And that's something you can't rush. Age can do that to a whiskey. So that's the one negative I would say about this, but overall this is great, especially for the price point, which we'll get into in just a little bit here. Let's move on to our Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. It's a lot more nutty. When you try it directly side by side with the Stagg Jr. batch, all that Heaven Hill nuttiness comes through. There's different types of nuttiness. I've got a wild turkey nuttiness. We've got Heaven Hill nuttiness. We've got Jim Beam nuttiness. Jim Beam's more just like peanuts, with some of the Knob Creek, some of the Booker's batches. It's more of an almond to me for the Heaven Hill. Toasted, a lot of times a cinnamon-coated almond. Get that a lot in the JTS Brown is a big cinnamon note that comes through. Again, a lot of baking spices though. Baking spices and then that oak on the back of the palate. I appreciate more of like a creamy oak as opposed to the Stagg Jr. here. I think that the creamy oak is really nice, as far as finish goes. Mouthfeel finish, massive thing for me in whiskey. And Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, the A120 is delivering on that. Again, it's probably the age thing. I mean, this is a 12-year whiskey. Both have a great mouth coating due to the non-chill filtering. Being unfiltered, it's just the A120. I like the finish a little bit more, but I think flavor profile, I might like the Stagg Jr. a little bit more. This is a lot more classic bourbon notes to me. Stagg Jr. is giving me a lot more fruitiness. So if you like those fruity notes that come through a lot, say like a Four Roses, Buffalo Trace with their cherry sweetness, some of the, the E.H. Taylor line, some of those like Elmer T. Lee Blanton's, I get a lot of fruitiness as well. You're going to want the Stagg Jr. for sure. They're both wonderful whiskeys. I mean, how do you pick a winner in this, Before I reveal who I would choose, if I was Desert Island Whiskey and I can only have one for the rest of my life, which would it be, as far as the line goes? I want to hear what would you guys choose. So as I said, I get asked this question all the time. What would you prefer? If you have both at retail, what are you going to buy? You can only get one. So let me know down in the comments below. Now, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. I just want to hear your opinion. So please do tell me right now. For me, it depends. So it depends on the batch. This is why we have multiple batches, why we can try multiple batches. Batch 9 of Stagg Jr. was phenomenal. I think it would probably overtake the A120. Batch 13 is also very, very good. A little bit in the finish that I was disappointed in. So today, I'm choosing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A120. Again, both excellent, excellent whiskeys. I would drink any of these any day of the week without a problem. You know, both awesome distilleries, both awesome products that I will always try to pick up. For me, it's harder to get Stagg Jr. than it is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. They're both not easy, but in Michigan, we do get Elijah Craig Barrel Proof a couple times. I mean, when they're released, but it's usually like a month or two after they come out, honestly. I just got this A120 about probably a month ago now, so very late to the game. B batches should already be rolling out in other states. They are, and nothing's showing up in Michigan at all. So the other question, if I saw both these on the shelf, what would I pick up? And the answer to that, they're both, you know, equivalent price at about $60, which they are in general at retail. I'm getting Stagg Jr. And that's because of the allocation, you know. I have a better odds of getting this other times of the year, you know, if I see it at the store. Whereas Stagg Jr., I might see once or twice a year and I have to know someone who I can go talk to get a bottle. It's never hitting the shelves, you know. Because I still like it that much. That's the reason. It's still a wonderful whiskey, awesome barrel proof, and you should definitely get both of these at all releases if you can. $60? It's one of the best values in bourbon. Don't tell anyone. Alright, well thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed the head-to-head. Obviously, again, they were blind, but I just wanted to let you know what my favorite is currently. Next week I could do this, it'd be all different. You know? Again, let me know what you're picking up on the shelf. You know, next question, if you got both on the shelf like we just discussed, which one are you reaching for? You know, you may like one more than another, but due to scarcity, are you know, the fear of missing out, are you picking up that barrel? Or is it going to be, just stick with the favorites, you know, old reliable? Let me know, I really want to hear. It was a good time today. You know, if you like seeing these, there's a lot of other stuff we could do. You know, so many things like this, similar products, different distilleries. Heck, we could just do all barrel proof, you know, Four Roses barrel strength versus this or that. And we're going to kind of be doing that with my Battle of the Bourbon series coming up. So probably this upcoming Saturday for when this episode's released, or possibly the next one, depending on if I can get everything filmed. Battle of the Bourbons, baby, and it's barrel proof time. You know, I'm a barrel proof whore. I am, self-admitted, working on it. It's going to be awesome. You know, these will be filmed one episode at a time, at a day probably, because we're doing barrel proof. Kick you in the ass. It really will. Let me know down in the comments below, what is your favorite barrel proof bourbon of all time? Doesn't have to be these two. Of all time, what's your favorite barrel proof bourbon? Let me know. Appreciate y'all hanging out today. Stay insane, everyone.